The Pontiac 6000, introduced in 1983, is a vehicle that exemplifies a transitional era in American automotive design. Positioned as a midsize car, it was General Motors' answer to the changing landscape of consumer demand in the early 1980s. The 6000 offered a blend of comfort, performance, and practicality, at a time when fuel economy and affordability were becoming more important to American buyers. The 6000 shared its A-body platform with other GM models like the Chevrolet Celebrity, Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, and Buick Century. Despite the similarities, Pontiac added unique styling cues and performance variants that helped the 6000 establish its own identity within the GM family. Pontiac's marketing strategy for the 6000 leaned heavily on its image as a driver's car. With the slogan, "We build excitement," Pontiac sought to inject some sportiness into a class of vehicles that were traditionally known for being mundane. The 6000 succeeded in this effort, especially with the introduction of the 6000 Saint Special Touring Edition, which brought European-style driving dynamics to a domestic sedan. At the time, American cars were often criticized for poor handling and uninspired driving experiences, especially when compared to European and Japanese competitors. The 6000 Saint aimed to change that perception. In its base form, the 1983 Pontiac 6000 was available with a modest 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, known as the Iron Duke. This engine was praised for its reliability and fuel efficiency, though it lacked the punch that performance-minded drivers desired. For those looking for more power, Pontiac offered optional V6 engines, including the 2.8-liter V6, which added a noticeable improvement in both acceleration and highway cruising. The 6000 also offered front-wheel drive, a feature that was still relatively new in American cars at the time, and one that improved both traction and interior space. What really set the 6000 apart, however, was its Saint model. This trim level introduced a host of upgrades, including a more powerful fuel-injected V6 engine, sport-tuned suspension, four-wheel disc brakes, and a refined interior with advanced instrumentation. The STE was one of the first American cars to offer a digital dashboard, electronic ride control, and other tech-forward features that were typically found in high-end European vehicles. It gave the 6000 a premium feel without the premium price tag. In many ways, it was a precursor to the sports sedans that would become popular in the decades that followed. Another interesting aspect of the Pontiac 6000 was its styling. While the base models were fairly conservative, the STE version had subtle yet effective upgrades, including alloy wheels, blackout trim, and specific badging that gave it a more aggressive, purposeful appearance. Inside, the STE featured bucket seats, a floor shifter, and unique trim that made it stand out in a segment dominated by bench seats and column shifters. This made the 6000 Saint particularly appealing to younger buyers or those who wanted a more engaging driving experience without stepping up to a luxury brand. In terms of ride and handling, the 6000 was competent by the standards of the day. The front-wheel drive layout helped with road stability, especially in poor weather conditions. The suspension tuning on the base models favored comfort, making them ideal for long-distance cruising and everyday commuting. However, the STE took it to another level with stiffer springs, upgraded shocks, and a better steering rack that gave it a surprisingly nimble feel. While it couldn't match a BMW 3 Series on a winding road, it was far superior to most American sedans of its time. The 6000 also benefited from GM's vast parts network and economies of scale. This made it relatively affordable to maintain and repair, which only added to its appeal. Dealers were plentiful, and mechanics were familiar with the A-body platform, making ownership relatively hassle-free. It was this combination of performance, comfort, and reliability that helped the 6000 become one of Pontiac's best-selling models throughout the 1980s. Safety features on the 1983 model were basic by today's standards but were competitive for the era. The 6000 came with standard front disc brakes, energy-absorbing bumpers, and side impact protection. The STE trim added four-wheel disc brakes, which was a rare and commendable feature in this price bracket at the time. Airbags were not yet standard industry-wide, but Pontiac made efforts to improve passive safety through structural enhancements and better seat belt integration. Fuel economy was another strong point. The four-cylinder versions of the 6000 delivered respectable mileage, making them appealing to families and commuters looking to save on fuel costs in the wake of the fuel crises of the 1970s. Even the V6 models were relatively efficient, particularly with the addition of fuel injection in later years. This helped the 6000 stay relevant as fuel prices fluctuated and environmental concerns grew. One often overlooked aspect of the Pontiac 6000 was its role in shaping the identity of Pontiac during the 1980s. While the brand had its roots in performance and muscle cars, the 6000 helped broaden its appeal to a wider audience. It showed that Pontiac could build cars that were not only fun to drive but also practical and efficient. The 6000's success also paved the way for future Pontiac models like the Grand Prix and Bonneville to adopt more advanced technology and sportier characteristics. As the 1980s progressed, the Pontiac 6000 saw incremental improvements in styling, performance, and technology. While it never became a halo car or a cultural icon like the Trans Am, it did develop a loyal following. Owners appreciated its balance of comfort, performance, and affordability. The Saint, in particular, earned praise from the automotive press and enthusiasts alike, with some even comparing it favorably to import sedans from BMW and Audi, an impressive feat for a domestic sedan at the time. Eventually, the 6000 was phased out in the early 1990s as consumer tastes shifted once again and GM restructured its model lineup. But its legacy lived on in the vehicles that followed, many of which borrowed heavily from the innovations first seen in the 6000. Today, the Pontiac 6000 remains a lesser-known yet important chapter in American automotive history. It represents a time when manufacturers were learning to balance efficiency with excitement, and it played a key role in the evolution of the midsize sedan. For enthusiasts and collectors, the 6000, especially the STE models, has become something of a hidden gem. It may not have the cachet of a muscle car or the cult status of a compact tuner, but it offers a unique glimpse into the engineering and design philosophy of the 1980s. With clean examples becoming increasingly rare, those who appreciate its blend of retro charm and forward-thinking technology may find it a rewarding addition to their garage. The Pontiac 6000 is a car worth remembering, not just for what it was, but for what it represented, a bold attempt to bring excitement to the everyday drive.